All right, hello everyone. I'm going to be running this deck through a league. I'm going to play 5 rounds with it. This is the deck list that I played a couple games with just to get reacquainted with it. I've been not playing too much Magic for the last couple months because I just started working full time, but I got some time off for the holidays, so here we are. I'm not going to do any changes to it just yet. When Oath of the Gatewatch comes out, I'm going to definitely want to try out the new Pilgrim card. I can't remember her exact name, but it seems like a pretty sweet 2-drop. Probably going to end up cutting this core Firewalker and these 2 Stony Silences, moving an Utter End to the sideboard, and then playing 3 of them, 1 main and 2 side. That's just my thoughts right now because I think that card seems really good, especially with Lingering Souls. Alright, so I'm just going to give a run through of what this deck does. A lot of you probably will, who have seen any of my videos before or read anything on the MTG Salvation forums that I've posted, you know what the general gist of the deck is. It is a control deck based around assembling this Immortality engine with Martyr of Sands and Proclamation of Rebirth. With Proclamation of Rebirth, you can forecast it from your hand, so every turn, for a measly 7 mana, you can gain a ton of life, and Martyr helps you get to 7 mana pretty consistently. What is all this life gaining going to accomplish? Well, your goal is to eventually, once you're good and ready, opponent with Serra Ascendants, which are really efficient 1-drops when you're above 30 life. You can use Ranger of Eos to tutor for the Martyr and the Serra Ascendant combo. If you're running low on white cards in your hand, Squadron Hawks refill them. You can do all sorts of stuff like that. Weathered Wafer also lets you hit your land drops more reliably. Since the initial list, I've moved more towards going hard on Emeria the Skyrune. It doesn't take up a spell slot, which gives you more room in your deck to play other things. In Modern, it's a very diverse format. It's not very good for control decks, so you want to have as many slots as possible. So that's why I'm mostly trying these Emeria the Skyrunes, or trying to get those online as the recursion plan. Because of that, almost all of the lands in the deck are plains or eventually become plains, the exception of the 1 swamp and 4 ghost quarters. The reason it's important to play 1 swamp is so that if you need to get your black mana and you don't have one yet, you can ghost quarter one of your own lands in order to get the basic swamp, or you can pet out one of your own creatures in order to get it. It doesn't often come to that, but it is very nice to have that option to you. It is also nice where if you are going to just barely get above 30 life with an Orzhov Charm getting back the Martyr of Sands, and you really need that swamp, you can just go for the swamp and not lose any life. Crucible Worlds is the 24th land in the deck. I consider it the 24th land because the deck used to have 24 of them, and you don't gain any life off your lands, you don't get any life off this Crucible of Worlds, and it just lets you keep playing fetch lands, getting up to Emeria more reliably, lets you ghost quarter a lot of people out of the game if they're playing Tron or something like that. And if they destroy Mistfield Plains, you don't have to worry about it too much. It's a pretty important land for a lot of the things that the deck does. Just really quickly, it stops you from getting decked. Sometimes games will go long and you can sort of, quote, mill your opponent out by just putting stuff on the bottom of your deck and they'll run out of cards first. But mostly this is for Squadron Hawk. Because Squadron Hawk searches Squadron Hawks out of your deck, if you have any Squadron Hawks die, you can put them back into your deck and then play a Squadron Hawk from your hand and then it replaces itself. So you have a chain of chump blockers that goes on forever. A lot of people are wondering, well, what's the benefit of playing black in this deck? It's mostly mono white. The reason that I play black personally is that the mana base is basically at no cost to you. It's very easy to have a black source at all times. I've almost never lost to mana problems. Yeah, and it's just, if you can play a second color, why wouldn't you just play with better spells? Orzhov Charm is the main attraction. All 3 modes are relevant. The most relevant mode is the last one, which is it reanimates a 1-drop. With that, you can get back a Martyr of Sands. So if you were going against Burn, for instance, and you needed to gain more life, you could do that. If you try to gain life and they Skull, Crack, or Targus command you, in response to that, you can Orzhov Charm the Martyr back into play and then gain life again, -3, because the Orzhov Charm is no longer in your hand. And that's a really good thing to do. A lot of times, if you're playing against Burn, you will lose if they Skull Crack you at a key moment, and then they just kill you on their next turn. Orzhov Charm prevents that from happening. Also, this lets you play Serra Ascendants from your graveyard at instant speed. Somebody attacks you with a Tarmogoyf, surprise, your Tarmogoyf gets destroyed. Or not destroyed, but gets eaten by the Serra Ascendant if you're above 30 life. The next mode, speaking of destroying things, destroy target creature, you lose life equal to its toughness. Great to have removal spells, helps you a lot in the twin matchups and basically everything. Because you have Orzhov Charm, you can play 8 instant speed spot removal spells. Not if you want to count Utter End, although Utter End is not exactly a spot removal spell. It costs 4 mana. It's kind of a lot. Next reason to play black is that you can play Lingering Souls, which helps you out a lot in the Liliana matchups. It also lets you put a clock down occasionally in matchups where you would want to be able to kill your opponent sooner rather than later. A lot of decks in Modern won't let you just go on forever durdling around, or they have ways to win through all of your life, such as Amulet. They can just throw a Pact onto the stack when they have Hivemind out, and you will lose the game. Going along with the Lingering Souls, we've got Sorin, Solemn Visitor, another great card in the Attrition matchups. It really helps you gain an advantage, and he also helps you gain some life. When you have some tokens out, some Squadron Hawks or whatever, you can really get in there with that. And then he actually is pretty easy to ultimate. And if you Wrath and then ultimate, any kind of creature-based strategy is just not going to be able to get through that. The last matchup I had versus Merfolk, they got destroyed by that. Utter End is better than Oblivion Ring because it can't get Abrupt Decayed, and it's an instant. Not much else to say about that. That's why I hate Oblivion Ring and like Utter End. Up here at the top end, we got a Blood Baron of Vizkopa. Blood Baron is unkillable. Some people have brought up that you can double Lightning Bolt it, but decks with Lightning Bolt in it, if they are double Lightning Bolting this, you are winning the game, because they're either playing Burn, and you just gained 6 life off of that, or they're playing Jund and you 2-for-1'd them. And Jund is all about not getting 2-for-1'd. Over in the sideboard, we've got just a couple random things. This isn't exactly coherent because I've been out of Modern for a little while, but some of the things are, for instance, you want 4 Ghostly Prison between main and sideboard. I think it's a little bit better in the sideboard right now because there's a lot of decks that can just pretty much ignore it. I've got the second Proclamation. Got some Stony Silences, which are just filler slots right now. Celestial Purge is always good. I have the 4th Wrath in the sideboard and an Austere Command. Usually this is a Day of Judgment as the 5th Wrath, but I kind of like this. It's good against Affinity, it's good against Boggles. It's just kind of an interesting card. Core Firewalker, because I heard some people were losing to Burn, and as much as I usually win against Burn, if there's a lot of aggressive stuff, this always helps out a lot, especially if the Burn decks are playing more creatures now, which they are. This deck is very good against just straight Burn decks, but they're more or less Zoo hybrids at this point from what I've seen. And then Extirpate is very good against combos, anything in the graveyard, and also Tron. That's the main reason I play this, is for Tron, because you can Ghost Quarter one of their Tron lands and then lock them off of Tron for the rest of the game with that. That's the deck, and let's jam it through some games.